Max Headroom, hijacking 22nd of November, 1987. A normal Sunday night news broadcast was running in Chicago. Then suddenly the screen went black. A few seconds later, a man was on the screen. Max Headroom's mask, sunglasses, and a corrugated metal panel spinning behind him. No one could understand which show this was part of, because it was not part of any show. Someone had actually hijacked the television signal. The WGN's engineers took the transmission back, and the first interruption ended in roughly 25 seconds. But about 2 hours later, the same mask appeared on the screen again, this time on WTTW in the middle of Doctor Who. And now the hijacker had more control. The signal replaced their broadcast for roughly 90 seconds. One single night, 2 stations, and in both places the same mysterious figure. The investigation made it clear that this was not some simple trick inside the studio. The hijacker needed sophisticated equipment and technical knowledge to override the television transmission. But despite the footage, investigators did not have the most important thing: the identity of that man. 2 broadcasts were recorded. The technical method was understood to a fair extent, but who was behind the Max Headroom mask has still not been officially solved to this day. Montana Zombie Alert. February 11th, 2013. Television viewers in Montana were watching their normal daytime programming. Then the familiar tone of the emergency alert system played. Normally this means that the message about to come is important, but this time the warning was something else entirely. The voice announced that dead bodies were rising from graves and attacking living people, and viewers were warned not to go near those bodies. At first it could have seemed like a bizarre joke, but one thing made this prank genuinely disturbing. The message was coming through the emergency alert system, meaning the same system that viewers trust during real emergencies. KRTV quickly cut the broadcast and clarified that there was no zombie outbreak in Montana. But after the investigation, the problem became even more interesting. This was not just an isolated prank at one station. Similar zombie hoaxes had also affected stations in Michigan, Utah, New Mexico, and California. Investigations identified basic security weaknesses in some of the affected EAS equipment, including unchanged default credentials. So the zombie attack was fake, but the system compromise was real. And that is exactly why this incident became more unsettling than a stupid prank. And perhaps that is why Montana's zombie alert was not disturbing because of the zombies, but because of trust. Ghostwatch Halloween Night, 1992. A program started on BBC as if viewers were about to watch a genuine paranormal investigation. Michael Parkinson was in the studio, Sarah Green was reporting from a supposedly haunted house, and the family living in the house was talking about a mysterious figure. His name was Pipes. At the beginning, it just seems like a strange family story. Then something appears on camera. Near the curtains of the girl's bedroom, a figure is visible for a few moments, and then vanishes. The footage is replayed. Experts try to explain it, but as the program progresses, more details keep attaching themselves around Pipe's story. The family's strange experiences, unusual incidents, and a sealed glory hole under the house. Every new detail was making the previous explanation more complicated. But one important thing was not being told to the viewers. This was not a real investigation at all. Ghostwatch was a scripted drama by Stephen Volk, which had been recorded months earlier, but the program was intentionally presented like live television, and familiar presenters like Michael Parkinson and Sarah Green made the illusion even more believable. Viewers also could not understand whether they were watching an investigation or a carefully constructed horror story. Captain Midnight HBO Hijacking. A normal movie was playing, then HBO's normal picture disappeared. Color bars appeared on the screen, and above them a name appeared: Captain Midnight. The message was directly targeting HBO, a protest against its subscription price and scrambling system, meaning the hijacker was not just interrupting the program. He wanted HBO's viewers to see his complaint. And this message did not last only a few seconds. HBO's satellite feed remained under his control for roughly 4.5 minutes. Now investigators had one problem to solve. Where did the signal come from? Following the technical clues, the investigation reached a satellite facility in Florida, and there they found a man who had both things: access and motive. His name was John R. McDougal. McDougal ran a satellite dish business and was frustrated with HBO's scrambling charges. Eventually, he confessed that he was Captain Midnight. An anonymous hijacking that only a few minutes earlier had looked like an impossible mystery now had a real person and a very specific motive behind it. McDougal received a fine and probation, and the incident gave broadcasters an uncomfortable lesson. War of the Worlds music was playing on the radio. Then suddenly the program was interrupted. A strange report came from Grover's Mill in New Jersey. At first, it just seemed like an unusual news bulletin. Then the report started becoming more serious. Strange objects, eyewitness accounts, military response. And gradually, an impossible story began to sound like reality on the radio. Martians had invaded Earth. The problem was that some listeners had not heard the beginning of the program at all. So they did not get the context that they were listening to a fictional drama of War of the Worlds. Reports kept coming one after another, and some listeners started calling the police, newspapers, and radio stations. But an important part of the famous story came out later. The scale of the mass panic was not as large as the newspapers had implied. According to the Library of Congress, in a 5,000 household telephone survey that night, only around 2% of households were listening to the program, and among them the majority knew it was fiction. Even so, the broadcast genuinely confused some listeners, because the program did not unfold fiction like normal entertainment, but like breaking news. And this experiment showed one dangerous power of radio. If information is given in a believable order, then even without showing anything, a fictional event can seem real to some people. The broadcast of October 30th, 1938 ended, but it left behind one idea. Sometimes you do not need a picture to fake reality. Southern Television. Interruption. Southern Television's evening news bulletin was running on the screen. Then the presenter's voice disappeared. In its place, a deep, distorted voice began to be heard. The voice identified itself as Vrion, a representative of Ashtar Galactic Command. And then a strange message began, a warning to humanity to abandon weapons and move towards peace. But for the viewers, the most confusing thing was not the message. The program on the screen was still the same. Only the audio had changed, and this was not a glitch of a few seconds either. The unknown voice remained on the broadcast for almost 5.5 minutes. The technical investigation revealed one important thing. The problem was not inside Southern Television studio. An unauthorized nearby signal had overpowered the Hannington transmitter, replacing the original audio with its own signal. So, the mystery of the alien transmission was technically solved. It was not an alien. Some human had sent the signal, but the identity of that human was never officially established. And that is why the strangest part of the incident was not the message. An unknown person, without changing the picture of the program, through just one powerful signal, had delivered his voice into the homes of television viewers. That interruption of November 26, 1977 ended, but the broadcaster never found out whose voice it actually was. Numbers station. Broadcasts, a strange tune would play on shortwave radio. Then a calm female voice would come, and after that, numbers. 5-digit groups, one after another. No explanation, no normal program, just numbers. Listeners gave this mysterious station a name, the Lincolnshire Poacher, and the more people listened to it, the stranger the pattern became visible. The broadcast did not seem random, the same type of interval signal, regular transmissions, fixed shortwave frequencies, and then one theory made this mystery even more interesting. It was possible that this broadcast was for one specific listener. The concept was simple. The sender broadcasts coded numbers on the radio. The agent has a secret one-time pad. Any person in the world could hear those numbers, but without the correct key, it was practically impossible to understand their meaning. This meant that to receive the message, the agent did not need a phone call, internet connection, or suspicious equipment, just an ordinary shortwave radio. Radio enthusiasts traced the signals of the Lincolnshire Poacher to the area of RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus. But the British government never officially confirmed which agency controlled the station, or who the messages were for. Then in July 2008, the broadcast stopped. The voice that had been speaking numbers for years suddenly went silent. But the actual mission behind it? It is still officially unknown today. Because the world heard the messages,